What's going on, everybody? Nick here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to build a client onboarding system live. The really cool part about this video that's probably different from most other ones that you've seen either on this subject or that I've recorded previously is I'm actually going to make use of a hidden API to do so. I've used hidden APIs before for web scraping, but I've never used it to actually do things. A lot of the time, if you are scoping a project and something is not available in the API, or maybe there isn't a make module for it, you can actually figure out what the API endpoint is on your own using network requests and sort of like the Chrome DevTools tab. And then you can hack together a solution that still works really well. So that's what I've done in this video. I'm taking a customer request or a viewer request, I want to say, which is similar to a customer request. I'm turning that into a sequence of steps, and I'm showing you how I scope it and how I build a hidden API system from scratch. That sounds like something you guys are interested in learning how to do yourselves. Stay tuned and let's get into it. All right, first things first, this request came from the lovely @SusieQuarantine on YouTube. She said, tons of amazing compliments, thank you for that. And then she's looking for a new client workflow automation scenario where she takes a new client subscription from Stripe. Then she sends an email to her team with new client info, then automatically creates a client dashboard in ClickUp from a template, adds the client name from Stripe to the dashboard, and then even creates the shareable link for the client, sends a welcome email to the client, and then includes the newly created ClickUp dashboard link. She'd also love to know how to apply something like this in reverse, as well as showing when a client cancels their subscription. So I'm not going to do that second part just because I don't want this to be like a 4-hour video, but everything that I'm going to show you today that has to do with hidden APIs will provide you the tools and the knowledge that you can go out to use and do yourself. Okay, so yeah, I'm more than happy to build a system. It's one of the funnest probably requests I've gotten in a while because it allows me to leverage some of the hidden API knowledge that I've built over the last couple of years in a way that basically I don't think anybody else in the world that is using ClickUp is currently utilizing. Before I get into this, you need to have a couple of tech skills in order for this to make sense to you. You need to understand a little bit of JSON, so JavaScript object notation. You need to understand, generally speaking, what a server is. We're going to make requests to a server that ClickUp is essentially hidden from our view. So we need to be familiar with that. And I'm going to guide you through as much of this as I possibly can so that even if you're not extremely technical, you'll still sort of understand what's going on. But, if any of this seems like arcane runes written in a dusty old tablet, if any of this is wizardry, then, you can brush up your request skills and you can go pretty far with this stuff. So the main issue here with what Susie is asking for, if you don't know what I'm about to tell you, is if we go over to make.com here and we go to ClickUp, and we scroll through all of the million modules here for tasks and lists and folders and spaces and goals and views and whatever. The main issue you'll find is that ClickUp has no inherent way to duplicate a dashboard. And so, normally what will happen is you'll scope this out and then you'll be like, dashboard, how do we duplicate a dashboard? There's no way to do so. Oh, maybe make an API call. Then you'll read through the ClickUp API and then you're like, it still isn't working. And then you realize that there's just no way to do what you want to do. And then you'll say, okay, this project is not doable. But just because a platform does not have an API endpoint, or just because a platform does not have a module in make.com or a listed API endpoint, doesn't mean that you can't actually do it. And what I mean by this is all of these software platforms technically have APIs that do all of these functions on the software platform. For instance, I have a dashboard here open in ClickUp. If I right click this and if I press duplicate, obviously something has to happen on their backend. There has to be a request made to some server out there to tell it that I'm going to be duplicating this dashboard, right? The question is, how do we find it? So obviously it's there. For whatever reason, they haven't made that functionality available as part of their module, but we can still get it. And that's what I'm going to show you guys how to do in this video. I'm going to show you guys how to do the crux of what she's asking for, which is initially she wants to get a trigger from Stripe, then send an email to the team, and then here, create a new client dashboard in ClickUp. We're going to use hidden APIs for this, and then add the client name from Stripe to the new dashboard. We're going to use hidden APIs for this. Create shareable link. We're not going to be able to create a public shareable link because ClickUp doesn't allow you to do that, but we'll still be able to get the link to share with people. And then we'll be able to do, all the rest of the stuff too, using hidden APIs. So pretty cool stuff. We're going to be diving pretty deep into network requests and headers and stuff like that. So if you're unfamiliar with this, if you're not a professional, super technical request and internet person, that's all right. I'm going to guide you through it as much as I can. But some basic understanding of JSON, JavaScript object notation, And, just how to make like an HTTP request and make is pretty important. So if you haven't already figured that stuff out, then I have a bunch of videos that show you how to scrape websites and make HTTP requests that, you can just jump around my profile and find. Okay, without further ado, let's actually build this whole system from end to end. So the way that I usually build systems, especially client systems like this, where, I'm just kind of going, shooting from the hip, is I'll always start at the end or the most important function first. So to me, the most important function here is creating a client dashboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to verify that that works first. I'm going to test it. And then once I know that that works, then I can kind of work my way backwards to the rest of her requests. Because this to me is the crux of it, right? She just obviously wants to duplicate a dashboard automatically when some payment comes in. It's easy enough to track a payment, like it's easy enough to trigger when a payment occurs, do X, Y, and Z. These are built-in triggers in Make, but this is the one that's like, there's a big question mark here. And this is like the real alpha in the system. So that's what I'm going to start with first. And in order for me to do so, I need to explain a little bit about how ClickUp works. So basically what she wants to do, she wants to have a dashboard. So I already have a dashboard called Dashboard here. This is a very simple dashboard that I set up with my average cycle time for my articles in the queue for my content writing company. You can see how sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, right? On average, it's like 3 to 4 days. That's how long my writers take to finish stuff. That's cool. But she basically wants, let's say this is her dashboard, and I imagine her dashboard's probably going to be a lot more complicated than this, but let's pretend this is her dashboard. What she wants is she wants a way to automatically duplicate this. And you see I just duplicated, now it's called dashboard 1. And then she wants a way to send whatever the finished link is to the client. So we already checked Make. There's no built-in module. What do we do? Well, this is where we need to start looking into the hidden API. So how do you access a hidden API of a service? Well, every service is going to be different. Not all services are going to have a very straightforward, simple hidden API. Some of them are going to use what's called like WebSockets. Some of them are going to use, there's a variety of different approaches. But generally speaking, on your browser, you need to hold and press like Control-Shift-C or Command-Shift-C or something, or you just need to right-click and then press Inspect. And then this tab is going to open up either on the bottom of your page or on the right-hand side of the page. And this is the Inspect Element tab. And you've probably seen this before. If you're familiar with web stuff, you played around with it. But there are a bunch of tabs here. What this is this is the layout of your whole website. So this is the ClickUp site just built in HTML, right? If I search for the term start with a template, or maybe just template, the term template will be somewhere here. I don't know exactly where. Obviously, there's a boatload of code, but all the information that's here is technically written over here in the Elements panel, just in code. So this is a one-to-one representation. And then what happens is you will feed all of this code into your browser, and then your browser just sort of understands the way that you want this code to look, and that's how it'll render the web page. It's a very neat system, but obviously it's a little bit beyond the scope of this video. Next up, you have a console. The console is just usually like a logging, a list of logs essentially that have cropped up. So it'll tell you whether or not it's been able to access a resource or whatever. You can write JavaScript in here if you want as well. I'm not going to touch too much on that. There's a sources tab, which will go through and then just list all of the various data sources that this page is pulled from. So you can see it's pulled from a service called canny.io, cdn.segment.com, attachments.clickup.com. Some of these are ClickUp's own services, and some of these are third-party services that they're using for like tracking and analytics. And then the most important one for us is this one here called network. And this is where you're going to be spending the vast majority of your time if you're looking to screw around with hidden APIs like I am. So every time that I do something on this page, anytime I do like a server request, it's going to pop up over here. And it's going to basically be sending a request to ClickUp or some other service to tell it what I'm doing. And we're going to be able to track it all. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to minimize this, make this a little bit smaller, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to scroll all the way to the right-hand side here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to see what happens on the network tab when I duplicate this. Because again, if I click this duplicate button and it duplicates it, obviously ClickUp has to know somehow. I have to be sending or receiving a request to or from a ClickUp server in order for that function to happen. So what we want to do is we want to see what that network request is, and then we want to duplicate it in Make. Okay, great. So I just clicked duplicate. And if you notice, there are a couple of network requests that have popped up. And the one that's relevant for me, right, if we just scroll through here, the one that's relevant for me, and the one that's probably going to be relevant for you, is there's going to be a name, and the name's just going to usually describe the function. So it'll be copy, it'll be rename, it'll be duplicate, it'll be something like that. And there's actually 2 network requests here. Both of them are virtually identical. There's a minor difference here between the status codes, it looks like, or sorry, whether or not this is like a service worker or whatever. You don't need to know too much about that. What you need to pay attention to is this request URL. Basically, anytime I copy or duplicate a dashboard, there is a server request being made to this URL, prod-us-west, this is an Amazon server, .clickup.com/dashboard/DAGT-202/copy. It's a post request. And then there are a bunch of headers here. And the last thing that I'll mention is there is an authorization header. And that authorization header includes basically like an internal API key. It's an API key that ClickUp will assign to you, but they won't tell you about it. And if you just copy this request, but instead of doing it through your browser, you do it through make.com, you can do the exact same thing that we're accomplishing here inside of ClickUp. Right, we have the authorization, we have all these other headers. If we just copy this one for one, ClickUp doesn't care if the request comes from make.com or if it comes from your browser when you click the duplicate button. It will do the same thing because it's authorized. And so we can actually feed this into a make.com scenario. We can automate the hell out of it. Now, obviously, I don't want to show you guys my my authorization header, so I'm just going to be like blurring this out in post. But if you sign up for ClickUp, it should be like a pretty long string. In this case, it's like 4 or 5 lines or something like that. What we're going to do is we're just going to find a way to copy this request exactly and then send it over to make.com, and then from make.com send it back over to ClickUp, and then we're going to just see what happens. So I'm going to go back here, and then I'll just see my listed dashboards. You can see that I've already copied that one here. So it's dashboard, and then there's a space, and then there's a bracket, and there's a 1. But I'm going to delete this because I only want to screw with this one here. Okay, and so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this request URL, go into make, and then I'm gonna use an HTTP module to make a request. I'm gonna paste in this module here. Now, just when I'm reading this, and I don't actually know fully, I'm just poking around, new to this, same as you are, this DHAGT-202, that to me looks kind of like an ID. I don't think this is like an endpoint. I mean, all the rest of these are interpretable terms, dashboard, copy. This one here to me looks like an ID. So what's probably happening is we are probably calling a specific resource and where this is the ID, and then the copy function is being performed on this ID. Like if I'm thinking about it like by what the server is doing, we're probably copying this. And so I bet you if you had a different template, if I duplicated a different dashboard, right? If I had like 3 or 4 different variants and then I duplicate a different one, this would change. Maybe it'd be ABCEF-913 or something. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we need to copy all of these request methods. So this is post, right? So I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna click post. All right, I'm also going to go to body type, go to raw, content type, go to JSON, application JSON, and I was like parsing the response. And then what I need to do is I need to add a bunch of headers. And so the headers that you need to add, if you scroll down, are your request headers. They're not your response headers. This is the response from ClickUp. They're your request headers. And generally, you don't need to add any of these ones here with the colons by them. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add my authorization header. Then I'm going to copy this long string. And then I am going to... Actually, why don't we do this? This instead, we'll go to.api key like this. That should be good. That's what this is called. Okay, great. And that way I just don't have to like do all that work in post blurring it out every time. All right, next up, I'm going to continue scrolling down here, and I'm going to find the content length, content type cookie. We have a big cookie here. I'm just not going to feed in the cookie at all. I'll go to SECCHUA. I don't know for sure whether or not all of these are required, but from most of the services that I ping, you need to have your SECCHUA, and then you need to have your user agent as well. And this basically is just like a hack to tell them that we're a browser using Mozilla 5.0, Linux, Android, Nexus, whatever. We're on Google Chrome. It's just a way to basically say, hey, we're not calling you from a server, from like make.com. We're calling you from just a normal website. Okay, great. So the last thing we need to do is we need to feed in the request content. So if you go to payload or preview, maybe I should go over here. We don't actually have a dashboard here, do we? Okay, sorry. If you go to a preview, And then if you copy this whole long object rather, then we have a giant string, basically, a giant request string with information here. And it looks like we can change the ID of the thing that we're creating. We can change the name. We can do all that stuff. I don't know if all of this is going to work, but we'll give this a try. Why don't we call this like client example dashboard name? Looks like you also give it an ID. So I don't know if this means like it's been created. I'm not really sure what's going on, but we're going to call it anyway. And then what I'll do is I'll just give this a try and we'll see what happens. I don't know if this is going to work. We're just going to test it out. So we got the API key and then we call the server. It's giving us a 200 request and it's also sending us back a dashboard object again. The ID of this is a different ID. Okay. And then the name is dashboard1. So if I go back here and I refresh, sorry, it was trying to push me to mobile here. If I open this up again, go to dashboards, we'll see that I just created a dashboard just now called dashboard1. So that looks good. We're sort of hacking this API call together, and so not all the fields seem to work. So like name doesn't work, for instance. That's okay. We could just use a different API call to rename it. I'm sure that'll be fine. But it looks like we've actually already done the main functionality, which is just duplicating the dashboard, which is pretty sick. Yeah, presumably, you know, from the scope, it sounds like she just wanted to create a new client dashboard and ClickUp from a template we made. So that's pretty straightforward. Presumably if you wanted to like do different templates, you'd have to call a different ID here. It looks like DHAGT is just the ID that it's, I don't know if this is just because of me. Maybe this is just like a string assigned to my personal account and maybe it's not your account. But the number here was similar. I think it was like 497. So presumably just change this to be whatever template that you want. Like I bet you if I were to click duplicate here, the API call would be for a different dashboard. Yeah, see this is 497. So yeah, that's a very quick and easy way to hack together some dashboard functionality, which is nice. And it looks like the ID that we feed in doesn't really matter. If I could take a wild stab at it, you probably wouldn't need to feed in anything. You'd probably just make a post request to this and it would just copy it for you. Because it doesn't really look like it cares about the ID or the name. It probably is just told to ignore what's going on. And they just create a new dashboard duplicate for any request that comes in that's a post request that has the authorization header and that pings this URL. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, why don't we do another thing? The client, or Susie in this case, mentioned that she wanted a rename functionality where the dashboard gets renamed. So this is dashboard 1. What I'm going to do is, let me just click on this actually. And then why don't I go back to network, and how do you rename something in ClickUp? Click, yeah, so I rename it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like change the name of this, and I'm just going to say client example. I'm going to press enter. Okay, and you can see that a couple of API calls were just made. DHAGT-497, that is the dashboard URL. So I bet you it'll be something like rename. Okay, so we're doing an HTTP request to this URL, and it's DHAGT-497 now with a request method put, which is cool. The payload, we just feed in name. So I guarantee you this is going to work as well. And all we need to do is just take the ID of the previous one. So I'm going to copy and paste this. I'm going to feed in this URL instead. I'm going to do a put. And keep in mind, we need to grab the ID from the previous one, previous output here, right? So we could just go, I'm just going to test this. I'm going to hard code this for now, but later on we'd replace this with the ID. We have the authorization, we have the same thing everywhere else, and then all we want to do is we want to have a new query with whatever the name is, and I'm going to say, this is my awesome new name. And then I'm going to go back like this. Okay, let me just see if there's anything else we might be missing. Payload looks good. Preview looks good. Yeah, let's give this a go. So I'm going to look at this name here. Right now it says client example. I'm going to run this again. Oh, sorry, I need the API key for this to run. So let me just unlink this, and then feed this directly in, and then run it. We received 200 status request again, and then voila, we have this is my awesome new name in ClickUp. So we've just changed the name of this document using our hidden API, which is pretty sick. Very, very cool stuff. So yeah, I think that's like the two probably biggest pieces of functionality Susie wanted. So create a new dashboard in ClickUp, and then add the client name from Stripe to the new dashboard name, and then create shareable link. The last one I'll do is I'll just figure out how to create a shareable link, because the rest of the stuff seems pretty straightforward. Like sending a welcome email, that's pretty easy. This is sort of like my go-to for basically anything in automation. Just do the hardest thing first. Verify that the hardest thing, A, is possible, and B, like what you need in order to do it. And then after that, you can worry about all the small, easy stuff. There's sort of like two philosophies for attacking anything, really. Like if you're in debt, there's two philosophies. One is you attack the thing that has the highest interest rate. And then once you're done with the thing that has the highest interest rate, this is like the logical approach, you can worry about things with lower interest rates. But a lot of the time, the debts with the highest interest rates are also your biggest debts, and they're the scariest ones. So another approach is to attack the smallest, simplest thing first, then work your way down, right? There's so many different approaches of attacking the largest or smallest thing, just generally speaking in life. But for automation, I definitely like attacking the hardest thing, because it just verifies that, I can do it. Anyway, I'm not freaking Seneca over here. Okay, I'm not Aristotle. I'm not a philosopher. I am a make.com engineer. So let's get back to it. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how the share link works. I think if we if we click share up here, we have a private or public dashboard. So you may not know this. I do, because I've worked with ClickUp a lot, and I hope Susie does as well, but you can't actually share a dashboard publicly. Like I couldn't take the dashboard and then send it to a client that isn't part of my ClickUp workspace. Even if I make this public, it's just public within my workspace. What I do then is I copy this link and then I paste it in here, and I press enter, and then voila, it's like part of anybody in my workspace can see it. But I'm assuming that she knows this, and I'm assuming that she's probably already invited, let's say, a client to her workspace or something to see it. And what we're doing is we're just going to be copying this link, and this link is always going to follow a very specific format. It's going to be, https app.clickup.com/ whatever your specific ClickUp account ID is, and this is mine. Then it'll be /dashboard/DHAGT-497. So we can actually just put this together ourselves, and then just make sure that it's public. Or we can just add the people to our dashboard. We can add all of the people, the users, to our account, and then make it public. What else she can do is she can save this as a PDF. She can then email the PDF over to people if she wants, and the PDF will just look exactly like how this looked. The only difference is it's not going to be dynamic. So this is just essentially a screenshot of the dashboard. But I mean, this might be a workable compromise if she's not looking to do what I think she's looking to do. She could do that as well. And you can do all these functions through the hidden API, right? Like if I go back to network here and I click on something, if I were to go to network and then type save as PDF, there's a request that is basically being made. Oh, actually, there isn't a request that's being made. That's really interesting. It looks like they're using some library to just take a screenshot of the dashboard right there in front of you. So you would actually need to do you'd actually need to do some type of browser automation if you want to get the PDF. Fascinating. Anyway, I imagine that she probably knows what she's doing here, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse. But okay, how do you integrate this into the rest of the flow? Well, that's pretty straightforward. Based off what she's saying, now that we've done the hard parts here, we need to take a new client subscription from Stripe. So we need a trigger, basically, that's watching Stripe. And when a new Stripe transaction comes in that is a type subscription, we need to send an email to our team with the new client info. Then we'll create the new client dashboard in ClickUp just using the info that we get from that transaction. Then we'll send a new welcome email to the client with a welcome message and newly created ClickUp dashboard link. All right, so that seems pretty straightforward. Why don't I start at the very beginning with the Stripe call or Stripe watcher. Now keep in mind, I don't actually have a Stripe thing set up here, but I'll show you how to set it up, and then I'm just going to use a basic trigger to go. But basically what you want to do is you'd want to use the watch events module here. So I'm going to drag that over to the left. I'm going to feed that in. What you want to do is you want to create a new webhook. Maybe we'll do subscription events. And then I'll just say June 19th, 2024, and I'll just say example. I really do need to come up with a good naming convention for this. You can go customer subscription, and then what you want is customer subscription created right over here. And then you don't want to force a different API version. You click save. And basically what will happen is anytime a new Stripe customer subscription is created, so customer, you create a subscription, the customer like completes the subscription. This will be an event that you can then capture, and it'll include some fields like, if we go back here, it'll include the customer ID, which then you can use to call customer data. It'll include like some event information. It'll include like the discount, the items on the subscription, how much money it costs, all that stuff. So you can do whatever you want with that. What we're going to do after the watch events is we're going to feed in a get customer, or retrieve a customer, I think. Yeah, there we go. And then we're going to feed in the ID of the customer that we just watched here. So we'll scroll down here to customer, and then I'm just going to select all their information. And in Stripe, you'll store like the name, the company name, the address, whatever information you need. You can even use metadata. Stripe has a bunch of metadata fields where you can like add information when you create the customer. And then after you get this transaction, what we need to do is we need to send an email, right? So I'm just going to go over here to the email module. And then I'm going to, let's just create a draft for now. I'm going to use the create a draft, but Susie, if you wanted to use this in reality, you would do the send an email, which is right over here. The create a draft is just going to like make something in my draft, so I don't have to like send a million billion emails while testing this. The folder I'm going to do this in, for whatever reason, you have to go here manually and then select drafts, which is annoying. The email that I'm going to use is I'm going to go to the customer module here, and then I'm going to scroll down until it says email. So that's how I know I'm going to be sending it to them. And then from here on out, it's just copywriting, right? You can send whatever you want. So how does she phrase it? Send an email to our team with new client info. Oh, actually, we're not sending this to the customer, we're sending this to our team. So maybe there's like a team at whateveyouragency.com, whatever your agency is called.com address. And then maybe it'll be like new subscription created, and then we can use like customer email. So I don't know. We could say hello team, and then we could go BR is just a break tag. It basically allows me to create a new line. So this will be hello team, and then what this will really look like is this. But we're using HTML tags here just because it allows us some additional formatting, and I really like it. So hello team, new line. We've just created, or a new customer has just joined. Here is their information. And then, we can put in whatever data we want. So I don't know, like you could put in their email, and then if you have this metadata field, you could put it in here as well. So I don't know, maybe in the metadata field, you do a bunch of other data on the customer, like what the customer's company name is, all that stuff. Obviously you could put in like their name, which is important. What else you could put in? I'm not sure. It just depends on the specifics of how much information you want. Assuming that you are storing all this information in Stripe, you're getting it in Stripe. But let's say you have like a CRM or something like ClickUp where you're managing customer information. You could also store the ID of the ClickUp record in the metadata field and then extract that and then use that to call ClickUp first before you do any of this stuff to like grab all the other information that you have. And then what I'll do is I'll just add 2 new lines here, and I'll say thank you. And then we'll go system. So we are just creating a draft here, and we're drafting it to whatever your team URL is, or your Gmail. Sorry, good Lord, it's been a long time since I've slept. You are connecting it to your email address that your team uses for communications. That's what I put in there. Susie, in addition, has requested, after we do all the dashboard stuff, we need to send the welcome email to the new client with a welcome message and newly created ClickUp dashboard link. So what do we have to do now? I have my API key variable over here. You don't have to add this. You could just hard code it in the request, but I'm just doing this so that in post, it's going to save me a bit of time. I don't have to like track the API key to cancel it out. But what we want here is we'd feed in whatever the template is that we're using. So in my case, I'm feeding in DHAGT-202. If you guys have a specific template that is different from that, let's say your template is, I don't know, DHAGT-399, like you need to copy and paste that in here, and that needs to be the hard-coded template. This probably isn't relevant, but I'm keeping it in here right now. And then what we want is we want to put the name of the client here. So I'm assuming that this name field is the company name. So I'm just going to pull this directly from Stripe. And the name is going to be the company name. So now what have we done? We've created a dashboard, or duplicate dashboard. We're renaming dashboard. And then we're just going to send a welcome email to the new client with the welcome message. So I'm going to copy and paste this draft creator. And then I'm going to say, welcome aboard. And I'll say hello. And then again, maybe you have the metadata stored. Maybe there's like a name field in the metadata. I'm just going to leave metadata here. But maybe it's like, metadata dot name. So maybe it's like first name or something. I don't know. This is the contact on the account. This is your own data structure you've created. So hello metadata dot first name. A new customer has just joined. Here's their, we're not going to do that. We're going to say, thanks for trusting us with your project. Can't wait to kick off and deliver something beautiful for you. I'm not going to pretend like I know what all this stuff is, but what I am going to do is I'll say, here's your ClickUp dashboard link. And then I'm going to use A tags, which is just a way to insert a link. And then I'm going to do 2 more new lines. Inside of ahref equals these 2 quotes, I need to put in the link to the dashboard. So if I open this up, it'll just be whatever this URL is. So what I'm going to do is I'll put in this URL, and then I'm going to replace the end here with the ID of the dashboard that I've created back here. So this is DHAGT-497. This is the result of my successful request. It sends you back the dashboard ID. And then, I don't know, I'll just say whatever the company is. Presumably, it's like Stephanie at Workflow Loop or something. Like whoever helps the client set up, right? So yeah, and then you'd probably also have a bunch of additional onboarding information here. Like, please do X, Y, and Z, book a call here, read this doc, etc. Just gonna leave that be. And then let me see if there's anything else that we would need to do in order to scope this out completely. Yeah, send welcome email to new client with a welcome message and a newly created ClickUp dashboard link. Yeah, that's about that. While I'm here, why don't I go to manage users and see if I could just add a user via API too. That'd be pretty sweet. We'll go network. I'm going to add one of my calls here, and then it's just going to be nick@leftclick.ai. I'll press invite. Okay, so there is an email lead endpoint. So Susie, if you wanted to do this automatically, what you could do is you could also, let's say they're not actually part of your workspace yet. At the very beginning of this here, after you receive the request, you could have another module here, and you could call this invite user or something to ClickUp. You'd have to be a little wary of permissions because permissions would be different. They, as a member, would have access to everything. It looks like email lead is just their server call, and you feed in the email address, and then it'll go through and basically invite them to your ClickUp for you. But yeah, you'll receive a result called already signed up, true or false. And then if it's false, then you'll know that they're not already signed up. If it's true, you'll know that they are, which is pretty neat. So yeah, there are a lot, there's a lot of ways that you can improve a flow like this, obviously, and customize it further. I was a little bit unsure exactly where you were at when it came to users being part of your ClickUp or not, and that's why I provided you a bunch of options and opportunities. But yeah, I'll just leave this in here with that endpoint just so that you know what to do. Aside from that, this is the flow from start to finish, right? You are watching the events, retrieving a customer, creating a draft, inviting a user, duplicating a dashboard, renaming it, and then sending out an email. So because I have these Stripe modules set up here, I'm just going to export this blueprint first because I'm going to share this with you guys after. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually just going to replace these Stripe modules here because I don't actually want to go and like pay $5 to my credit card. I'm just going to replace them with my own fields using the basic trigger module. And then I'm going to actually like run this thing from start to finish, just so you guys can see what it would look like. So the name of this, I'm going to do, we'll do client email. And the value of this is going to be my own email, nick@leftclick.ai. We're going to pretend that there's, like a package name or something. And I'll say Silver Plus. I am going to do company name, and we'll just call this LeftClick. And then maybe there's like a first name as well. We'll just do Nick. So pretend that this is information that we're getting from Stripe. I'll say watch Stripe subscription. And if and only this, if maybe the status of this is completed. So if status is equal to completed, I mean, I'm probably going to be receiving the completed request anyway, because that's what I was watching, but then we can proceed with the rest of this. I'm just going to pretend that this is my client email. This is the package name. This is the first name. Sorry, maybe this is the company name. And then maybe this is also the first name. The API key step is good. I'm then going to, I got to remove this as part of my flow because I'm assuming that I'm already added. What I'll do is I will then duplicate the dashboard, which is good. Doesn't look like I need to do anything here in terms of like add additional info. It's duplicating my dashboard just fine. Then I need to feed in my duplicated dashboard ID, just right over here. And then the name that I want this to be is I want this to be my company name. If you think back to it, if I'm like duplicating a dashboard, it'd be nice if it was my company name. Then I want to create a draft. This draft is now going to go to the client email, which I have here. And then I'm going to say, hey, first name, here is your dashboard link. Thank you, Stephanie at Workflow Loop. Presumably Stephanie is the one that put all this stuff together. And then what I'm going to do here is, what email am I sending this from? Info 1 second copy. Okay, let me just open up this email, make sure that I have it available so y'all can see. Okay, let's go back here. And we should be good. I just want to open this and hold on, I actually want to delete this so that I could see this happen live. Okay, let's give this a run. This looks like it was completed. We've now created a draft. We use the API key to duplicate a dashboard. We've then renamed a dashboard, and then we've created another draft. So if I go back to drafts here, there are 2 emails. Number 1 was, hello team. A new customer has just joined. Here's their information. Right, here's the info that I pulled from Stripe. This next one's welcome aboard. Hello, first name. Thanks for trusting with your project. Can't wait to kick off and deliver something beautiful for you. Here's some additional onboarding information. And here is the ClickUp dashboard link. Now, before I do that, let me just verify that if we go back here and duplicate it, the dashboard was created. It does look like the dashboard was created. However, there was an issue with the API call because this is still called dashboard 1. So why did this take so long? Oh, dashboard not found. Okay, so what's the ID of this dashboard that was created? 517, right? We're calling 517. So what probably happened is we just called it a little too fast. ClickUp's server probably takes more than a few milliseconds to generate this, so I'm just going to add a sleep. And I'm going to sleep here for 5 seconds. I'm going to realign this, and I'm going to run this thing one more time. I'm also going to go back to dashboards, delete this other one here. Looks like the rename worked this time, which is good. If I refresh this, we now have the company name of LeftClick, and then if I go back to my drafts, we also have those 2 drafts that were created. Then if I click on this ClickUp dashboard link and I open it, we're taken directly to, why are we taking a 517 instead of 537? It's kind of odd. I feel like I might have pulled the, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong email. My bad, we got to go to this one here. Yeah, it has to say 537, not 517. Let me reload this whole page. Okay, now we have 2. That's not the right one, so I'm going to close both of these. Oh, this is the one, my bad. Yeah. So this is the one right here that says 537. If I were to click on this link as a customer, then I would go directly to the dashboard, which is the intended experience. Now I can see, the average cycle time and all that stuff. All right, cool. I was a little bit worried there at the end. Thought maybe I missed something, but yeah, that is the system from start to finish. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys appreciated learning how to utilize hidden APIs in this way. There are very few people out there that know how to do this, and fewer still that are talking about it. But I figured I'd just, give you guys the secret sauce as in as upfront a way as humanly possible. As I've shown you, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You are probably going to have stumbling blocks with hidden APIs because there's no manual, there's no documentation. They don't tell you how to do it. You kind of have to figure it all out for yourself. If you guys have any questions about this, feel free to leave a comment down below. Otherwise, like, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Thanks so much.